Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. We got a fun show today. It's an indie comic spotlight on Weirdo Comics, created by cartoonist Marc Jackson, 1 through 3. We're gonna check this out. It's a great book. Can't wait to show it to you. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit like, and I'm gonna cue the intro and I'll be right back.
MichaelFitzTroyTV. Comic book art critiques. Snarky, sarcastic ways. Representing geeky gaze. Sadie's comics rule the day. Hurry up and turn that page. Michael Fitz Troy.
All right, so I've been doing my show for a little bit now, and luckily some people are responding well to it. And I got an email from this Marc Jackson. He asked if he liked my show and asked if I'd be interested in reviewing his book. And of course, I said yes because number one, free comics, and number two, I love comics. Or I should say that backwards. Like number one, I love comics, and number two, free comics. So if you guys are indie creators or any creators, I don't care who the hell you are. If you want me to review your book, please contact me at MichaelFitzTroyTV@gmail.com. We can set it up. I'd happily review your book. I'd love to support like indie creators. And so let's get into this. First of all, I love getting mail, especially this Marc Jackson is from the United Kingdom. Our cousins across the pond, and he sent me this nice little package, an impressive body of work, the first 3 issues of Weirdo Comics for me to review, and I'm really happy to bring them to you today. He included this super cool postcard. Great show, Michael. Yes. I mean, if you want to butter my muffin, here's a stick of butter. Butter away. So, this is Weirdo Comics, number 1, Spookids. I love the cover. I love the aesthetic of his art. I love cartoonists. He has a really fun freestyle. It almost has, like, it looks very modern and retro at the same time. There's, like, sort of a 60s vibe to it. Like, I kind of feel like almost Flintstonian in a way. And that's a compliment because I love Hanna-Barbera. But I feel like there's, like, tastes of Risco and just, like, good, like, 60s fun aesthetic. So Spookids is the feature in Weirdo Comics number 1. It takes place in the 80s, hot on the heels of, shows like Stranger Things and stuff. It's perfect timing for this, and it has a great fun vibe, and I really love this comic book. I'm not gonna, like, when I do shows on comics that are like 30 years old, I tend to not really care too much about spoilers because I'm like, if you haven't read it by now, my goal in life is to get you to read it, to go out and, like, seek this frickin', like, long box, musty, like, treasure trove comic, which is always fine, or just find it on eBay, whatever. But these are more current. These were serialized. I want to say he started this in 2020. markmakescomics.co.uk to find this. $5 for UK and $7 for US, which is fine. I mean, it's color. I love the paper he used is amazing. It's like this beautiful bright paper. I know this is gonna sound so stupid, especially since I normally do old comic books, but it doesn't smell like anything. Like, it doesn't smell like printing. It doesn't smell like paper. It's so weird. Unless I'm, like, suffering side effects from something. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so this is quite an impressive body of work. Collecting together parts 1 through 9, originally published October 2020 through April of 2021. Like I said before, on co-fi.com/Marc Makes Comics. Anyway, this guy is a brilliant cartoonist. I love it. The format is so much fun. A lot of people say that superhero comics are kind of dead or just, like, not exciting anymore, and, like, indie comics are where it's at. And this is a great example of a good indie comic. I really appreciate the aesthetic of this whole book. He has a great cartooning style. Marc Jackson. It looks super professional. There's a great professional polish to the style. But at the same time, it has the looseness and freeness of like any great cartoonist, like Charles Schulz or Bill Watterson. So I'm kind of also getting that aesthetic. And I think I mentioned Risco, the 60s retro artist. But I just love this. It has such a great look. There's so many great characters in here. Like, it's an 80s sort of Stranger Things kind of vibe. So, I feel like the dialogue is more important than the story. It's kind of like a little bit of a fluff story, but there's so many great elements here. There's this kid's uncle, and he's dating this woman named Doreen who is going through this weird transformation, and it is hysterical. It's definitely like the side story, but it's so good. So these kids are screwing around, and there's like this brain helmet, and it gets stuck to this kid's head, and that's basically the gist of the story, is that they're gonna try to figure out how to remove the helmet, and they need, of course, the help of this kid's uncle and whatever convoluted thing. So since this takes place in the 80s, there's like a bunch of 80s references that were like killing me at every other stop. Like, so amazing. But I love the fact that Mark had the presence of mind to like put an 80s glossary in there for you in case you didn't understand his references, which is really funny because I was thinking pop culture. Like, I've been a pop culture junkie since probably before the term was coined, and I've just always been like really up the pop culture wazoo. So I feel like it's sort of permeates everything now, and that's just fine. But the side character subplot in here, which was killing me and had me at hello, is the future ghost of B. Arthur is like a supporting character in this book, and she motivates the plot of the story, and it is so good. I mean, anybody who wants to reference the Golden Girls is aces in my books for sure. And I don't know, if you're just looking for a great alternative to like superhero comics, great fold-out poster in the middle. It's funny, whenever I'm reviewing an Image Comics, I always say, we come to that inevitable point where I have to turn the book sideways. And here we are in Spookids, and who knew? And there's this great shot of the future ghost of B. Arthur. And the reason why, spoilers, that she's called the future ghost of B. Arthur is because she is B. Arthur's ghost. However, this takes place in the 80s, and of course we know she was alive and well then. It kind of breaks my heart to think about her passing away, because I love her so much. Like, I'm the biggest Golden Girls fan, and they have always been my surrogate grandmothers. However, on the flip side of that, it warms my heart to see her still being snarky, and just with her slow burns and her droll sense of humor, just living it up as a subplot in this comic book. And the only criticism I have, and I'm just gonna get this out of the way, because you know, I feel like it's only fair to mention something that might be a negative, but it's also a taste choice. As you can see, this is right up there with Todd McFarlane and Chris Claremont. I mean, this is heavy, verbose reading. For someone of my level of ADD, it was, sometimes I felt my mind drifting a little bit. However, very quippy, very clever dialogue, lots of terrific jokes. So it's definitely worth the effort to read it. And I say just focus and get through it. And that was issue 1. I just love, like, look at the design on this. This has such a great design aesthetic. It looks super, I don't know, it just pops off. I mean, I almost feel, and this is actually a genius idea that could save comic books. Like, since they're already carrying paper products like this anyway, why don't greeting card stores carry comic books? Aside from the fact that greeting stores cards are probably just in as much trouble as comic books and or newspapers or whatever. And I already showed it to you, but look at this cute postcard. Look at all those great faces. There's the future ghost of B. Arthur. I love her so much. Like, I want a plushie or something. Anyway, second issue, we get away from the main story, which was the Spookids, and they were trying to figure out how to get that helmet off of that kid's head. And suddenly we're oddly interrupted by the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life, the all-new Adventures of Magnum P.I. by Marc Jackson, Weirdo Comics. Now, this is only for one issue, and I'm guessing, I don't know, I don't know how this works. Obviously, he does not own the copyright to these characters, so maybe it falls under the parameters of parody since it's only one issue, but it's kind of funny, and I love it. If you're a fan of the 80s, Tom Selleck, Magnum P.I., how could you not love this? My Aunt Sherry just had, the biggest crush on Tom Selleck, so it warms my heart and makes me think of her every time I see or hear of him. And also, I want to point out that this issue was printed, the first issue was printed, like a normal comic, and then suddenly this is, Fantastic Four number 252, John Byrne doing it sideways. And thank you for that, Marc Jackson. All right, the all-new Adventures of Magnum P.I., dedicated to Mort Drucker, John M. Burns, and of course, the mighty Tom Selleck. So, of course, it's super silly and super wonderful and amazing. I'm not 100% sure that this looks exactly like Tom Selleck, but that's fine because obviously you don't own the rights to him or whatever. But it does definitely get the idea across. And I love his style. I think he's an amazing cartoonist. I totally could see this in, the Sunday Funnies or whatever. He's got a great design aesthetic. I love the panels without the black border on it. It gives it that, feeds into that animation aesthetic, which I really love. And the palette is really gorgeous. It's it's bright, but it's not so garish that it hurts your eyes. It just, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. And I love the lettering. I love the font. It's just a really joyous comic book. So if this is something that you guys, just something different, a little bit different aesthetic with a really fun story and a great sense of humor. There's I don't know why this octopusy face, I don't know. Suddenly it's a grammar lesson. But this just cracked me up, literally LOLing, for real though. I don't know, he just draws great expressions, and I really think there's a fun bunch of whimsy to his story. And it's just a fun, sit down and grab a beer or a cup of tea or whatever and totally enjoy yourself. So I am a UK-based cartoonist, and I have created comics and characters for The Beano, Aces Weekly, Comic Heroes Magazine, Comic Scene, The 77, Goof, Spiralbound, Medium, The Spark, and the Brooklyn Red Hook Star Review. Check out my work at www.markmakescomics.co.uk. Follow him on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter as Marc Makes Comics. You can support his work, blah, blah, blah. Go to YouTube and search for Marc Makes Comics. I mean, this guy is clearly the real deal. And he does, great comics. And you can see, I mean, come on. Magnum P.I. makes a seamless jump to the comic strip format. Marc Jackson conjures the voice of the characters and slightly amps up the comedy to make it seem like Magnum was designed for comics. If this comic was in newspapers in the 80s, it would probably still be running today. And that's Tom Sholey, who is the third voice on Cartoonist Kayfabe, and they do all kinds of reviews for comics and stuff. So he's no slouch. So if he endorses this, it must be halfway good. Let's go to the third issue. I'm going to go to the back real quick just because we're talking about quotes. And this is a quote. It's insane, and I love it. John McCrae, Hitman. I mean, come on. Great artist there. So, like I said, either this guy is really good at, sucking up to people, or else the shit is good. Uh-oh. Oh, that threw me off. So this is Weirdo Comics number 2. However, this is the third issue, but we return to the Spookids story. The future, or the all-new Adventures of Magnum P.I. are done for now. So we're back to the story, trying to figure out what's going on with these kids, and if we can get that darn brain helmet off his head. I really love the printing and the aesthetic Like, I think this is great, and the size is perfect. And like I said, I want to see these in greeting card stores. Like, oh my God, like, I mean, some greeting cards are like $5, if not more, like up to $10, depending on how much glitter they have on them. And if I saw this, like, I would pick it up and buy it without hesitation. Thank God I didn't have to. But I want to see what's next. I want to see what's more. I love this. I think the storytelling is great. Like I said, the art is so great. He has such a great, like, style. You know, it's indie and professional at the same time, if that makes sense. And even though they were serialized, so it's like deep to be continued on every single page, it flows very seamlessly. A splash page, you know, most of the pages, it's very like comic strippy, and the fact that there are several panels on each page and there's kind of a lot going on. But I love it. I mean, here we go with another 80s glossary. I'll just read a couple just to give you a taste of what you're in store for. The Sarlacc Pit. In Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, bounty hunter Boba Fett fell to certain doom into the mouth of a creature lurking in the Tatooine desert sands, courtesy of a temporarily blinded Han Solo. That is hysterical. Lee Majors, Aunt Beru style. Howard the Duck, GoBots, Gremlins, Emmett, Doc Brown. Okay, I'm going to read that one because, crazy inventor of the DeLorean time machine. It's funny because Back to the Future is such a staple of the 80s, and as much as I do like the movie, I like the ride way better at Universal Studios, even though they got rid of it for, like, the Harry Potter ride, which is fine because whatever, times call for that stuff. But I'm not, like, obsessed with Back to the Future, but I do realize its importance. Spookids, it got weird. Like, look at how fun that design is. Isn't this great? You guys definitely need... I'm going to link, like, his websites and everything so you can find this and definitely check it out. There's Doreen. Oh, my God. I have a friend named Doreen, and I can't wait to show her this character because she is going to crack her little ass up at how crazy this chick is. But she is so funny. There are a couple references to, like, what was going on. And this is probably a pandemic-produced comic book. And, I mean, I guess that's the one good thing that came out of the whole situation is that, you know, people did do some amazing things. And this is one of them. To be concluded. I cannot wait to see what happens. Spookids by Marc Jackson. This is a really terrific indie comic strip. And it's a great format. Totally affordable. Amazing. I mean, you guys definitely need this as part of your collection. All my kayfabe guys who are watching, always looking for something different and fun. Although you probably heard of this months ago and they have the jump on me as usual. But who cares? If you haven't heard of it, then you're hearing of it now. And it's freaking amazing. It's insane and I love it. John McCrae, I agree. The all-new Adventures of Magnum P.I, Spookids, Weirdo Comics by Marc Jackson. So amazing. This is one terrific indie comic. I really am happy that this came into my life. I enjoy it a lot. You need it in your life. And there it is. Check out Marc Jackson. Like I said, I'll link in the description. You definitely should support this guy. Great stuff. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, hit like, share my content, and I'll bring you some more later. All right, thanks, guys.